Good morning. Welcome to my very first complete at-home day with chemotherapy. So yesterday we had a good day. I had a great anniversary breakfast in town, and then I took through intravenous means the drug oxaliplatin. It's going to take me a while to pronounce all of these. So that was the start of chemotherapy, and it went quite well. Since then, variety of drugs to suppress side effects and things. And last night before bed, I took the other form of chemo, the take-home version, the chemo in a box, and with the even harder to pronounce name, capecitabine. Anyways, this is my friend for the next couple of weeks. Symptoms that I was asked to look out for, and in fact, if you look through the wonderfully well detailed and instructive booklets they give you, nausea and vomiting, fatigue, mouth problems, constipation, and there's actually a whole list, but at the top of a lot of these things is fever. And if I spike a fever above a certain degree, it means my body is rejecting, and it's not a good situation. I need to go back to the hospital. All right, 36.5, which is pretty much exactly what it was yesterday, and well under the 39 degrees Celsius threshold. So that's pretty much my normal body temperature. So that's a good sign. So far, everything is kind of going medically as expected. How do I feel? That's an interesting question these days. This feels like nothing I've ever experienced before, with the possible exception. Well, when I woke up this morning, I kind of felt, but we all do. I slept reasonably well, but anything that I could compare it to, one part is it feels like something's coming on in terms of just the regular sickness. If I know a cold is coming on, or a flu or something like that. So my body's kind of aching, my head's starting to throb a bit, and I'm a bit dopey in my thinking. The other is, in case you have experienced the joy of it, a modest hangover. I would call it like a category 2 hangover as opposed to a category 4 hangover high. So it's something where, yeah, I probably shouldn't have stayed out a little longer, and I could use a bit more sleep, and I know I'm going to pay for it for a few hours. Neither one is probably perfect. This is odd. It's like every symptom that you might feel in any illness or injury or things like that kind of coming in every once in a while, and it's totally unpredictable. So this week is the process of getting to know my body as it relates to these drugs. So we're going to go through some of that with this video. Thank you for coming back. And I'm going to sort of start the process off with maybe showing you one of the more important parts of this whole process, and how we deal with diet, and just keeping my overall body function in a good state. It is really literally not just trying to fight off the disease, but also in some sense fighting or trying to balance the strong impacts of this incredibly powerful medication. So let's see where today goes, and I will see you again very soon in this video. Thanks. And good morning again. Okay, this is a first for the series. This is my wife, my wonderful wife, and partner in life, Sharon Lee.
Hello.
And we just thought it would be good to share with you one of the most important things about this whole process, and that's what and how we eat. As I mentioned before, yeah, this is one of the things we're looking at right now, nausea and vomiting. That's not a good. I'm having a delicious 14-grain bagel with a simple cream cheese.
I'm having a boiled egg and some toast with a hazelnut spread on it.
Yeah, and I too will share in the boiled egg. If I feel like it, I might try a bit of butter. And obviously we have some fruit. Fruit's always good for it. Nothing special. We just want to show you, we need to start really investigating how food works for us. Because of the fact that it was colon cancer, which is part of the digestive system, it threw a whole bunch of questions into how we deal with food. So this is another chance for us to explore that. We were on that path anyways. You know, I'm almost 60, and I can't do the kind of things that I used to do when I was 20 and 25. So it was meant to be, but now we just have to accelerate it and possibly be a little more thoughtful, even more thoughtful than we do. So with that, we're going to eat. I'm going to turn it off, and then we're going to come back and chat with you a little bit about our experiences. So with that, I just thought we could just chat a little bit and let you in on what our life kind of looks like behind the scenes. I went to the gastroenterologist, got my colonoscopy, and in my fog coming out of anesthesia, he said, "You have colon cancer. This is what it means." And then they called you.
You got into the car and you said, yeah, I have it. And I'm like, what? It's like, I have cancer. And it was so blunt and matter of fact. I didn't quite know how to respond because there was no emotion coming from him. It was just, yep, this is it. And then we drove away.
It's kind of tied to the way I got the news. You know, we watch on TV and stuff, and you have these very thoughtful teams of doctors. They get you into a nice room and everybody's there, and then they say bad news, and then they lay this out, and then people fall into tears. And no, that's not what happened. And in fact, my doctor was so blunt and matter of fact, and in some way, I think because of the lives that we have led, part of us appreciate that. It's tough, but it you know, the most favorite phrase right now for us is "it is what it is," and that helps us get to the next step. But as the details came up, what were the things that were kind of coming out that was either helping you or distressing you or confusing you?
That's a good question. I think distress isn't the right word because you can't change the course of the path that we're on, and so being distressed isn't a helpful emotion. It's not a good use of anybody's energy. Not doing the what ifs, but okay, this is reality. Now what do we do?
So the next step then was I was transferred in the conversation sequence to a surgeon who had a long history of bowel surgery in this region. And one of the things I noticed as we passed from the family doctor or the GP or generalist to gastroenterologist who is a little bit more specialized, and then getting into particular surgeons, people getting more and more specific and more blunt.
I think I did appreciate the frank nature of the conversations we had with the specialists. One thing I did learn is they're very good at what they do, but if you ask them a question that's tangential to what they do, it becomes very vague and opaque.
It's true. The first few times when we would ask, what is the impact of this on this? And they kind of, in an indirect way, knock the conversation back to the middle where this is what they are telling us. Yes, they can make some guesses or whatever, but really this is what they're telling us. Let's focus on that. And then unfortunately, you then have to sort through the various details to make sense of it.
You have to be really listening, which can sometimes be challenging because you're still in a fog of like, how did I get into this surreal journey? And listening to the words that people use, because there's a lot of language that is not common to somebody's everyday language, a lot of medical terminology. So really trying to listen to what they say and then Googling those words to decode them a little bit was very helpful.
Certainly being in this information age has, I think, largely been a blessing, occasionally a curse here and there. It does give you an awful lot of things to think about when you shouldn't be.
Ultimately, you have two sets of individuals talking different languages, and part of that decision tree making process is arriving at a common place where everybody understands a little bit more about each other so that they can make more informed decisions.
The other thing that kind of trips people up is that they assume doctors and nurses are these wizards and they have all these answers. They don't. They have an enormous amount of knowledge and training and practical skills, but they have to deconstruct and reassemble a puzzle each time they see a patient. So it does help if you do have the good fortune of learning a little bit more about how they make their decisions, even asking them, how are you making your decisions, and then help them by providing the good information. All right, how was the first night for you? We are now in very different modes. I have a whole bunch of restrictions. I am not the easiest person to live with from the get-go, but this is probably a bit trickier. You as my care companion, what is going through your mind?
Well, you keep, at least for me, I'm bracing myself for the worst, hoping the worst won't happen, but knowing that it could be just around the corner. So far, the worst hasn't happened yet. I mean, obviously the news was bad, but so far you're coping very well, and I hope that continues. But from my perspective, it's about keeping an open mind, knowing what could be there, and then helping to guide you through whatever you're going through so that we can preemptively prevent some of the negative consequences. Well, it's the same big questions I ask myself, or I have been asking myself over the last 30, 35 years that I've known you. How can we make today a great day? How can we, deal with the situation we find ourselves in today? And it's a lot like playing Scrabble, right? You pick up 7 tiles and you have to make something really cool out of those 7 tiles. So for me, the biggest question is how can we make today a great day and not worry too much about the future? I have no idea what's ahead. I know what we've been through, and we've had many ups and downs throughout our time together. This is just another one of those downs, and I'm working towards making sure we get back up again and we can move on to the next challenge.
In any case, today really was to give you a sense of the first steps. Look, I can't say it's been horrible. In fact, I'm shocked how easy it has been in the first couple of days. I just spoke to my sister. Unfortunately, her husband is going through the same disease that I am, but he's in a much more advanced state, and he's been fighting this thing for well over a decade now. And it can get worse. That was what I was advised, that chemo goes up and down and waves. So I don't know what's going to happen in the next weeks or so. But at least for now, between these videos and just engaging more meaningfully with my family and just getting all of the contacts from the past that I've been getting through social media, it has been very rewarding for me. So thank you so much. I hope to keep this video running, and the YouTube world to help me do that. If you can either subscribe or press like, that kind of thing, that would help me, and enter some comments, and I'll try my best to respond. Thank you again, and see you again soon. Bye.